We have another substantial waiver wire update today with over 100 players going through waivers yesterday. We have some players that were claimed, some surprise players that were not. We have more players going through waivers today. Plus, we have news that the Boston Bruins are finally going to retire the number for Willie O'ree, and we have confirmation on the outdoor games taking place next month as well. We'll get into all that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have another pretty significant waiver update for you all today. Obviously, a lot of players went through the waiver wire yesterday. Noon Eastern is the cutoff at which we get to find out the claims and all that. So that just kind of passed here within the last little bit. So now we know where everything stands. A lot of players that we thought were going to be primed for getting claimed actually snuck through and were not. So I know there's probably a lot of teams breathing a sigh of relief and are quite content that they get to keep their players and put them either on the taxi squad or on the AHL, depending on where they plan to send them. But for example, like a key player like Corey Perry in Montreal was not claimed. Michael Frolik, not claimed. So Montreal didn't lose any additional players. Of course, they did lose Noah Juleson yesterday, who was claimed by the Panthers. So a team like Montreal's in the clear. Now, a team like Winnipeg was not so lucky. They did get to keep forward Matthew Perreault, who went through waivers really just for the purpose of cap purposes to become cap compliant, so that he could be assigned to the taxi squad. So a big chunk of his salary will be buried in the minors. But they did lose goaltender Eric Comrie to the New Jersey Devils, and they also lost defenseman Lucas Pisa to the Nashville Predators. Now, this is the fourth time that Eric Comrie has been a waiver claim, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the second year in a row that he got claimed by the Jets putting him on waivers, and they lost him at the start of the year. So clearly that's going to create a bit of a hole for Winnipeg in their number 3 spot. He was expected to be their taxi squad goaltender. There could be some other options Winnipeg can look at here, but they're going to have to obviously make some decisions there. So that's an unfortunate situation for the Winnipeg Jets losing those players, but that's the risk you take when you have to make those decisions. The San Jose Sharks have claimed forward Rudolph Balcers from the Ottawa Senators. Obviously, the Sens have way too many forwards, between the young guys that are not waiver exempt anymore and a lot of the veterans they brought through. Of course, San Jose knows Balcers well. He was one of the pieces included to the Senators in the Erik Karlsson trade. So obviously, they saw an opportunity to bring back a player that they're familiar with, a cheap salary they can use on their NHL roster. So not a huge shocker there, but given all the options that were out there, I'm surprised there weren't some bigger names that were taken. But as I mentioned yesterday, a lot of the salaries and incomes that come with the waiver claims was kind of what would deter a lot of people. Like, for example, one note that I thought would be a prime target would be Flames defenseman Oliver Shillington. I mean, he's a young up-and-coming defenseman that I really thought would get taken, but instead we see a guy like Spiza grab. So a little bit of a surprise there in that regard, but the Flames get lucky in that regard. Of course, the Canucks were not fortunate enough that somebody would take Louis Eriksson off their hands. No big surprise. But unfortunately, they don't get a late Christmas present from another NHL club. So the Canucks didn't end up losing any players on waivers. So all of their people have cleared as well. Now, the Oilers did lose Anton Forsberg, goaltender, who ended up being claimed by the Carolina Hurricanes. So obviously, that's a guy who they intended to likely be their taxi squad goaltender. As I mentioned, we also have some new players on waivers today, and that includes New York Islanders forward Leo Komarov. Now, Komarov is a player that I've talked about lately who's been in trade rumors that the Islanders are looking to shed some more salary. Of course, they were trying to move him and Thomas Hickey. Andrew Ladd was included in that as well. We saw Hickey and Ladd go through waivers yesterday, and now Komarov gets put on here today. So we'll see if anybody claims him. I would highly doubt it, given that he still has not only this year, but another year left on his contract as well. But at least it allows him to bury a contract and gives himself some more space. We also have goaltender Alex Nedeljkovic from the Carolina Hurricanes on waivers as well. So obviously we saw the Hurricanes, which is a little bit of a confusing move. They could have used him as their number 3. I mean, many argue that he's probably one of the better American Hockey League goaltenders who probably deserves an NHL opportunity. And he really hasn't been given it, given the other goalies that they've had with the system here in Carolina. But now they pick up Forsberg, which is going to essentially force them to keep him on the NHL roster so they don't have to put him through waivers again. And now Nedeljkovic goes through waivers. I would think that, given the teams that need goaltending, that there's a pretty good chance he gets claimed myself. I mean, we saw a team like New Jersey be opportunistic in that today, obviously taking Eric Comrie, given the fact that they lost Corey Crawford to retirement unexpectedly at the beginning of the season here. So Nedeljkovic very well could be done in Carolina. It wouldn't be shocking at all if we see another NHL franchise pick him up. I mean, a team like Edmonton, for example, who just lost Forsberg to Carolina, could turn around and take their guy to replace him on the other side. I mean, that would not be a bad opportunity. And actually, a team like Edmonton might be a better opportunity for Nedeljkovic as well to get more of an opportunity, given the fact that the goaltenders that they have are not tied to too long of contracts or too much money. So, a guy like Mike Smith probably won't be around more than just the coming season. So we'll see how that goes. But ultimately, the waiver wire has been busy, and it's going to continue to be busy here for another day. So lots of anybody else that we mentioned yesterday that was on waivers that I did not mention here today, it means that they have indeed cleared and they can be assigned either to the taxi squad or to the American Hockey League affiliate for the team that they belong to. Now, as I mentioned, we also have a couple other quick tidbits of news to talk about. The outdoor games at Lake Tahoe that we mentioned a few weeks ago has been confirmed by the NHL, so I'm not going to get into a lot of those details because we already have a dedicated video on the channel regarding that setup. They're going to be doing 2 outdoor games in February, which is a really kind of a neat idea. It's unfortunate they're not going to be able to have fans in attendance there, but it's still something that is going to be a unique thing that they can put on television. Obviously, it's something that they could consider doing more of if things go well, but I mean, it's something that I know we had talked about from inside sources a while back, but at least the NHL's finally confirmed those games, so that's good to see. And the Boston Bruins are finally going to retire the number of the great Willie O'ree. Willie O'ree broke the color barrier in the NHL 63 years ago. Certainly never had a long, illustrious NHL career, but still, he hails from my hometown of Fredericton, New Brunswick, where I still live here today. So, of course, Willie O'ree is a player that I have a ton of respect and admiration for. Somebody that the whole community here where we live greatly treasures as somebody from our home area. Of course, we even have a rink named after him in his honor, which I'll show you a quick picture here. It's a rink that I spend a lot of time at. Between skating and coaching, playing, etc. Fairly new facility that was named after him here not that long ago. So clearly, like I said, he's a really well-respected member of the hockey community. He's been a terrific ambassador for the NHL. Somebody who gets a lot of praise and respect more recently. Is kind of well overdue in my opinion. He's worked with the NHL for a long time, promoting diversity in the game of hockey, and it's a great honor to see number 22 go up to the rafters in Boston, where, it's a pretty significant thing. He might not have had a long, illustrious Hall of Fame type career, which are the more common numbers that we see be retired, but it's still extremely significant in the role he played to kind of creating more of an opportunity there. So that is fantastic to see. So the Boston Bruins will be doing that at their home game on February the 18th. So congratulations, Willie. Look forward to seeing the ceremony. And of course, like I said, from all of your hometown fans here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, congratulations. Greatly deserved. That is all your news updates here for today. Let me know your thoughts and everything discussed down below in the comments, and we'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content. And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.